Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay. Minor little false start there. Before we get into it, I'm Chris Horwedel, and I wanted to thank you guys all so much for the tremendous support you've been showing over these early episodes of the show. You're going to see that I'm taking some of your notes this week, specifically making the size of the bovadasportsbook.com homepage a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit easier to see. That's a good note. We can definitely do that. Over these last 3 episodes, we have gone from, I think we had 1,500 people checking it out on YouTube that first time. Then it was in, the threes. As of recording this, there were just, there were over 6,000 people who checked it out on YouTube last week. And, that's means a ton. We're also streaming live on Twitch, so feel free to hop in there and chat, and I will be as engaging as I can while we're doing all of this. I do really thank you. The community is super important. If you have anything you want to see done in the future, feel free to leave it in the comments. Any thoughts, feel free to leave it in the comments. If this is your first time checking out the show, like, subscribe. Also subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever the hell you find your podcasts. I know there's a lot of things you can be watching, and I appreciate that you're watching me. So let's get into this, and let me tell you a little bit about what has gone on so far today. I have gotten all of the losing out of the way already, as is the life of, I don't want to call myself a sneakerhead, but a shoe aficionado. Got up very early. It was still dark out this morning to try and get the Yeezy Dazzling Blues. Hopped on Dick's Sporting Goods at 7 a.m., sat in line perpetually, didn't get them. Hopped on to Yeezy Supply at 9 a.m., same thing. Struck out on Nordstrom's at 10. Actually, when it showed up, they were already sold out. I'm not 100% sure they ever showed up on DTLR, but also struck out on Snipes, struck out on whatever the other platform was. Just a bad day overall, and I'm waiting for the confirmed app to tell me that I'm also not getting that there. So all of that is saying that got losing out of the way, and we're going to do nothing but win, no matter what so far for the rest of this show. 8 picks was going to be 7 NBA picks, but we got started a little bit late, and the Celtics-Pistons game has already kicked off. So it's going to be 6 NBA picks and a couple of college basketball picks as well. I'm excited. Let's get right into it. The Toronto Raptors and the Atlanta Hawks today. Bovada has that line as Hawks -3 to start, and that's interesting, right? Because this Hawks team has been weird. The Hawks team has been weird. They're 28-31, good for, third place in the Southeast. They're coming off of a tough loss to the Bulls because, quite frankly, they ran into red-hot DeMar DeRozan, guy who is just, getting those MVP odds right now before he jumps up over Joker, over Embiid, over those guys. Hawks lose that game. They've lost 3 of their last 5, only 2 wins over the Magic and the Cavs, who are falling down standings right now. They're a bizarre team. The Raptors, they were super hot for a while, and then this week they've come back down to earth. Another a 2-5 week for them. They lose pretty badly to a Hornets team in their last game. Toronto is 32-26, third place in the Atlantic Division. Straight matchup predictor has this going 63.6% to the Hawks. And then when we start talking about the spread, it's looking 81% to the Hawks right now. So not a lot of faith in the Raptors. The Hawks 14-11 as home favorites, and the Raptors 12-8 is as away dogs. So we're not getting a ton from that. We are going to go. This is one of the closer games on the line today. I believe we only have one line that's closer, and that's that Grizzlies-Bulls game next. We're just going to go money line here. We're going to go. Oh, man. I'm talking myself out of it right now. We're going to go Atlanta Hawks -3. We're going to take the -110 here to start things off. This is one I don't feel great about. This one in this Bulls game. The Bulls game, I actually feel a little bit better than this one. But, yeah, this would be, if you have something else you really like, maybe insert that in here. This would be the one that I feel the worst about. Memphis Grizzlies, Chicago Bulls, and this is probably the game of the day in the NBA in terms of the most competitive game we're going to see, barring a surprise somewhere else. Matchup predictor has this going 55% to Memphis. Memphis, you're looking at a team that's 41-20. Who would have thought that to start the season? They lead the Southwest Division by 5.5 games over the Mavericks. They have lost their last two to the Timberwolves and the Trailblazers, so you kind of wonder about that a little bit. Neither of those two teams world beaters, though the Blazers are playing better. Two for their last five. Bulls are another one, 39-21. First place in the Central. This is the battle of first place teams that I don't think we really expected to be first place teams. DeMar DeRozan, as I mentioned before, shooting up MVP boards right now. Leads the team 28.3 points per game, 5.1 assists. Has been a do-it-all player for Chicago. It's kind of funny too because Chicago. There was all this talk about, is DeRozan the guy who can take this team to the next level when they added him and Lonzo this offseason. It seems like it. What he's doing right now, unprecedented for a guy who doesn't really shoot threes. The king of the mid-range. The Bulls, red hot. They've won their last 6. Good wins in there. This feels like the Bulls, right? We can take Bulls money line. This is a unique opportunity. Bulls money line plus 105 at Bovada. Absolutely love this pick. Whereas, earlier that Raptors Hawks game, like I said, didn't feel great. Love the Bulls money line here. Let's put all our faith in the Chicago Bulls to pull this one out. Moving on to our next game, we have got the San Antonio Spurs versus the Miami Heat here. Bovada opens this Heat -8.5. Feels about right, despite what we got from DeJounte Murray last night. Just an unbelievable line from Murray, but we'll get there in a second. Matchup predictor has this going 74.5% to Miami. The Spurs, 24-36, third place in the Southwest. They've won their last 2 wins over the Wizards and Thunder, 4 of their last 5. The only loss in there, a loss to the Chicago Bulls, who we just talked about. And as I alluded to, what DeJounte Murray did last night in this utterly ridiculous double overtime win against the Washington Wizards was crazy. It was the highest scoring game of the NBA season so far. All DeJounte Murray did, and when I saw these stats, I wondered what was going on. DeJounte Murray, 31 points, 13 rebounds, 14 assists. Did turn the ball over 6 times. Don't love that. And what's shocking is, and Greg Crone, my You're Wrong and Here's Why host, will appreciate this. He hates plus minus. For all DeJounte did, he was a -2 while he was on the court. That plus minus was a -2, and we're playing highlights here that we shouldn't be playing. So spectacular for Murray, great win for the Spurs, but they weren't playing the Heat. They were playing the Wizards. Heat have won 4 of their last 5. They've won 9 of their last 10, it looks like. 39-21, good for first place in the Southeast Division. A lot of first place teams so far that we've been talking about. And they play the Knicks last night? What do the Knicks have to do to win? They get 46 points from R.J. Barrett, and it's good enough for a 15-point loss to the Heat. Heat are the spread consensus here. 75% of the money going to the Miami Heat at -8.5. The Heat are actually only 10-12 as home favorites, while the Spurs are 14-10 as away dogs. That's the kind of stuff that starts concerning me a little bit. These money lines aren't too bad, so I'm gonna hop on the -395 money line at Bovada for this one, and I'll just be comfortable with a Heat win. It's gonna add to our parlay, which is already up to +390, and just enjoy what should be a fairly easy win here, and not have to worry about the cover. Our next game, the Washington Wizards take on the Cleveland Cavaliers right here. Matchup predictor has 72.7% going to Cleveland, who, they have not been great post break. They were not great leading into the break. They've lost their last 3 losses to the Pistons, Hawks, and 76ers. 1-4 before that, 2 wins over the Pacers, a win over the Spurs, win over the Hornets, but only 2 for their last 5. They're in 3rd place in the Central at 35-24. They're going to be without Rondo for a couple of weeks. That's important, as they brought him in to replace Rubio, who, effectively, though very fundamentally different players, replaced some of those minutes they lost when Colin Sexton was injured and out for the season. The Wizards, we just talked about it, but they lose a heartbreaker. They score 153 points, second most points scored in the NBA this season, and they lose. They lose by 4 to the Spurs last night. They're 27-32, 4th in the Southeast Division. They've won 2 of their last 5 games. Those wins being over the Nets in Brooklyn, which is an important distinction because nobody played, and versus the Detroit Pistons. So, not a great Wizards team. 77% spread consensus is going to the Cleveland Cavaliers here. We can get Cavs -8. The Wizards, the thing about them is they can score points. They can get hot even without Beal. Again, I don't hate these money lines at all. So we're going to take another money line opportunity, as we tend to do. We're going to take the Cleveland Cavaliers -350 at Bovada. And that's going to bring our parlay 4 picks in up to +531, which we're looking at respectable numbers already. I'm happy with this. Let's move on. We just talked about the Nets. Our next game is the the Brooklyn Nets versus the Milwaukee Bucks. The matchup predictor goes 72.5% to the Bucks. This game is in Milwaukee, which means we get Kyrie Irving, though recently traded for Ben Simmons, recently signed is out. Goran Dragic is day-to-day right now, and Kevin Durant is still out. They will get Kyrie because it's in Milwaukee, and those Brooklyn rules the mandates are changing in the next couple of weeks, so I think they're probably going to get Kyrie back full-time before you know it. When you get to the Bucks, 36-24, good for second place in the Central Division. A good team, but not a great team. I think they expected to be in first place in the Central. I think they thought that what they had done was good enough. Who could have expected the Bulls to make the meteoric rise that they did? I think they're surprised to be in second place. Giving Giannis a chip on his shoulder is never the smartest thing in the world, but that's just where we find ourselves right now. Spread consensus has 78% going to the Milwaukee Bucks, even with Kyrie. Bucks money line is terrible. The Nets, I just don't feel like we know enough about these new Nets post-trade to make any real edicts in regards to them. Giving up 9.5 points is tough. Not sure that the Bucks can cover this. I don't love the -500 money line at Bovada, just because we're not getting a ton of value there. But It's going to add to our parlay. We're going to play it safe here. And maybe the over-under is interesting here. The Nets have been scoring 110.7 points per game. The Bucks have been scoring 113.2. This over-under is at 237. This seems like maybe a comfortable under. The teams are only combining to score 223.9. A little bit of cushion there. Yeah, we're gonna go the under here at Bovada, 237 minus 110, and that's gonna be an excellent move for our parlay here. Now 5 picks in, plus 1104, and with that kind of money, we can afford to buy those Yeezys on the secondary market, and those prices are crazy on StockX right now. Our final NBA game of the day, the Sacramento Kings versus the Denver Nuggets. Bovada has this line, Nuggets -8 to start. Matchup predictor is going to Denver, 81.2% win probability. The Kings, I don't know what they thought they were doing with this trade. You deal Halliburton at the deadline prior to the deadline to go get Domantas Sabonis. And they had a couple of wins, beat the Thunder, which means nothing, beat the Timberwolves, beat the Wizards, a bunch of bad teams. Timberwolves have been okay, but they've lost their last 3 at the Nets, at the Bulls, and to the Nuggets, who they just lost to by 18 points a couple of days ago. Boy, will the Nuggets carry this 8? I don't absolutely hate this money line here, but we should talk about the Nuggets. They are 34-25, second place in the Northeast Division, behind the Utah Jazz, trailing the Jazz by 3 games. Won 4 of their last 5, 6 of their last 7. Only loss in there, loss to the Boston Celtics, who have been playing really good basketball. Spread consensus is going to the Nuggets at 55%, so we're kind of close here. The over-under this is another high over-under. These two teams only combined to score 121.1 points per game. Over-under on this is 238 in Denver. I think we might take this under again. If you guys listen to Better's Delight here on the Underdog Network, and if you don't, by the way, if you like this show, you're going to love that show. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all of that stuff. Matt hit a big college basketball parlay, all in unders last week, and maybe that's clouding my judgment here, but this -110 at Bovada feels like stealing money here. That takes our 6-pick parlay up to plus 2198. $100 is going to win you $2,000 right now. And like I've said, I've already used up all of my losses on these shoes today. So this feels pretty good so far. Of all of the weeks, I feel like, aside from that first one, which was just kind of a theme show, this is the one I feel the best about. And if you've listened, you know we've hit 6-7 a week. We're close. We're just missing. So that's going to be it for the NBA. The next game, we're going to go down college basketball way. This Auburn-Tennessee game, Auburn burned me last week. Started off the parlay with a loss because they couldn't hold off Florida. So we are staying the hell away from them. And we're going to scroll all the way down here. UCLA, Oregon State. Bovada has this line, UCLA -13.5 right now. Here's the thing. Oregon State, and we talked about one Crone, let's talk about the other here. Apologies to Greg Crone. The Beavers are terrible. They're just an absolutely terrible basketball team. 3-23 this season. 12th place in the Pac-12. Just not a good basketball team. They keep waiting for Trey Tinkle to show back up, and he's not walking in that door. UCLA has been very good, 20-6 on the season, 3rd in the Pac-12. They're 12-5 in conference, behind only USC and Arizona. So the matchup predictor has this going 92.9% of the time to UCLA. I think that's probably low. Spread consensus has it 64% going to UCLA. And this feels right. Now, Oregon State did just play a fairly tough game against USC, a team that is above UCLA in the Pac-12. But I think that was the pinnacle for them. I don't think they figured things out. I think they were hot, and now I think we're going to see them. Fall back to earth. I don't like taking favorites when they're giving up this many points, but this Oregon State team is really bad. So we're going to take UCLA here, minus 110 at Bovada, and that is going to jump our parlay all the way up to 42.87. 42.87. We're rolling in the money. And I probably want to play this next game safe. I did have that Celtics game listed wrong. I thought we were going to get that in. So I don't have an eighth team pre-picked here. Don't love the Kentucky +2 later. And I want to stay the top 25 action. This Murray State game is kind of interesting. Had Murray State on the show last week, and they did well for me. We're talking about Murray State and Southeast Missouri State. The Red Hawks, if you're keeping track at home. So Murray State minus 11.5 at Bovada. We're not going to get much on this money line. Now I'm going back. You know what? This is all happening live. This is all happening. This is all happening in real time. The Kentucky money line. Do we take the number 6 team in the country here against Arkansas and get points? That's really, really interesting. And this game's going to kick off early. Matchup predictor has this going 61.8% to Kentucky, which is going to relate to our money line. The Wildcats, 23-5, second place in the SEC. Not really missing anyone of consequence behind only Auburn in the SEC. Arkansas is 22-6. It's a good basketball team. Number 18 team in the country, third in the SEC. A game behind Kentucky. I don't know how to not take Kentucky plus points. Well, Kentucky straight money line plus 110 at Bovada. It feels like stealing. It really does. It feels like we are stealing money here. And in this circumstance, I'm okay with that. I feel pretty good about that. I think this is going to be one of the bigger parlay lines that we've had so far on the show. When we add in this plus 110, our parlay goes from 42 to plus 93.33. Boy, oh boy. Plus 93.33. $100 wins you $10,000. Now, we did pick a lot more. We stayed away from the favorite money lines more than we have in the past, or much less than we have in the past. But there are really solid picks in here. I feel good about it. So I think that's where we're going to finish this off today. Again, if this is your first time listening to the show, please give me your thoughts in the comments. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe on YouTube. Rate and like on the podcast apps. Give us a like here on the YouTube, and that really helps us out. It's super appreciative. We've got a lot more really cool stuff coming with this show. We're going to add some video elements, maybe some guests in the coming weeks. We're looking at probably the middle of March for that. So a lot to look forward to. A lot of reasons to stick around Genuinely appreciate it. Appreciate you. And that's going to be this week's episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay. I'm Chris Horwedel. Thank you for listening. Please do all the stuff I mentioned. And we'll see you back here next time.